So are we ready to reveal who we voted for?
Go on then.
Hello and welcome back to ModCons. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guess what this week is? Budget week. Oh my God.
Perfectly timed for Halloween, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying, pretty spooky. But yeah, I mean, so much to unpack. That's what we're here for. We're gonna spill the tea. Look at this teapot. Thank you so much,
You're
Jamie.
welcome. You're welcome.
Love it.
It is budget week. Well, it's actually budget day. We've just watched the budget.
We have.
But this is obviously not going to go out till after.
Yeah, well, we need to think about it a bit more and see if we can add
I've been
anything.
in shock. I've been trying to absorb it all day. It was a lot of information
so
and a
much
lot of
information and
horrifying stuff.
Yeah, some of it, some of it sounds, the sound bite is good. And then you actually think about it for like just 2 seconds and you're like, well, yeah, but that will affect this and that will affect that. And,
totally.
And it's actually wild. Like, what is going on? I don't know. And why do they politicize everything? It's so annoying. Like, oh yeah, but they left us in this dire straits and that dire straits. Okay, cool. But don't use that as an excuse. You want to make certain choices. Yeah. Fine, make those choices. Well, no, don't make those choices, but you have. Yeah, but totally. Exactly, own it. So where are we going to start?
Oh, okay. So I guess we just start from the top because that's how my notes are. I took a lot of notes, guys.
Oh, God.
Like, look at all this. This is the abridged version.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won't get through it that, but it just helped me. I was like furiously typing, like, what?
Yeah.
The most wild thing to me was the national insurance, but which I literally jaw dropped.
We knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming, but there were like extra little stabs that just made it really, really awful. Yeah. But obviously we'll come into all of that.
Yeah.
We're also going to be joined by some chums as well to tell us their thoughts about the budget as well.
To get an outside perspective, because although we have our own opinions, we do like to, reach out and see who else.
Soundboard.
Yeah. Not because maybe we're missing something.
Maybe
not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
So she opens with saying, the country voted for change and a decade of renewal. I'm going to offer that decade of renewal. So my first thing was, how dare you help yourself to a decade? We've only voted you, and not us, obviously, but you've only been voted in for one term. They keep doing this 10-year grab.
But that's what they do because they kind of set out policy, because if it doesn't work within that 4 or 5 years, then they can say, yes, but we told you. It's going to be
10 years.
It's the first Labour budget since 2010, first of all.
True.
And she is the first female chancellor. She did like to, point that out.
She did.
But yeah, I think, give it to her.
Yeah, I rate that. I respect the fact that she's the first female chancellor. And that's where it ends.
And it went downhill.
And it went downhill from there.
Apart from the beer tax.
1p.
And also that, I don't know, is that a bit sexist because all the other alcohol?
What about wine?
Yes, exactly.
What about champs, eh? What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know that many females that drink beer. Just saying.
Yeah,
I know
drink
some.
Cider.
Okay, well.
But I don't know if that counts.
Drafts.
Yeah, it's draft. It's draft. So yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I'm trying to get the positive.
No, but you're right. Somebody wrote on Twitter that in London that now means that a pint of beer is going to be £9.99, which is true.
Bargain.
It's so expensive. So it's
crazy.
Like, what really difference does that make?
Not much. It was literally just a sweetener.
Yeah.
Just like a cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Here's a penny.
Yeah. It's almost insulting.
So she also said her favourite phrase, which we haven't talked about Labour phrases for a while.
We haven't.
Never again can a government play fast and loose with the public finances. She likes that phrase, fast and loose.
I know, and it's just, what does it even mean? What is she talking about? And she's still adamant that this black hole is like her whole reason for living.
Yes. Well, the OBR actually have said now.
Yes.
It's 9 at most. It's 9.5 billion, if at all.
I wrote that in my notes.
Nice. So she kind of opened it after saying, I'm the first, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to raise taxes by £40 billion.
Wowza. That sounds so mammoth. Like, it's such a huge amount.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
And to say it like with a straight face, just to kind of come out and be like, this budget is going to raise taxes by £40 billion.
Yeah. Wow.
That was like the first thing that stunned me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I think maybe that's her strategy. She's like shocks you, and then she gets in some like info that you can't really sort of you don't digest because you're too busy like what 40
recovering
40 billy. What? Where did that come from?
40 billion. You mean billion?
The B. Oh dear.
Yeah.
We shouldn't really laugh because I think it's kind of serious.
It's really scary.
But you know what? If we don't laugh,
we'll cry.
Yeah, we will.
She said the 5-year growth forecast assessment by the OBR is going to be that we're going to get growth, 1.6% growth by 2029. We're also going to get 1.5% growth in 27 and 28. Yes. So she was really chuffed with this, that we'd, by the end of the parliament, we would have 1.6% growth.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's what people were voting for.
No.
40 billion pounds of tax for 1%, 1.6%.
Yeah, it's not exactly ideal.
It's not great. So she's changing her fiscal rules. So this is one of the big things.
That is the big thing.
Yes. So she's changing her fiscal rules so she can spend more and borrow more. So she said that public sector net borrowing, now that she's changed her fiscal rules, will be £105.6 billion in 2025-26, and by 2028-29 it will be 71 billion that year.
Yeah.
And she has also appointed a new chair for her new Office for Value for Money.
Yes.
Which instinctively feels like a waste of money.
What is going on? And what's wrong with the team she had before? Like the people doing.
Yeah. Why do we need to keep setting up like offices and more civil servants?
Yes. When we're trying to
save.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Crazy.
Let's just hire more people to teach us how to save money.
Yeah.
So she did have some good things.
Okay.
So one of the good things she did was the carer's allowance.
Yes, that was nice of her. Well done.
So she said if you're earning 10k a year, you won't lose your carer's allowance, which was good. And she kind of name checked Ed, Davey, Lib Dem chum. Because they're always in cahoots, the Lib Dems.
They are.
So he was quite happy to get a little shout out.
Yeah, of course.
In the budget.
And also for actually sort of doing something positive.
Yeah, no, and it was good. It was good. I don't know if that's like a huge amount of money. Like, it doesn't feel like, it feels like it's not that big a change. Like, obviously it is, but is that enough? Really?
No, I mean, it's better than nothing. Let's just take the wins where we can get them.
So the next thing is national living wage.
Yes.
So that's going to be going up to £12.21.
Yeah.
So that's up by 6.7%. And the national minimum wage for 18 to 20-year-olds is going to be increased by 16% to £10 an hour.
Yeah.
So,
which is great.
It's not great. It's not great.
I mean, it's an increase, I guess, but it's not great.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like she's doing a lot of these things, but she's also raising nicks, right? So it's like people who are employing
are not going to.
They're not going to employ these people. Or they're not going to give them a pay rise. They're not going to give them a pay rise. So they'll probably be stuck in that pay packet for so long.
Exactly. And that is actually the point. So like, does she think that the public does not see this? That's the thing. So she's like, oh yeah, it's not you, it's your employer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, it's not actually. I mean, obviously it is because they have to deal with it, but they have the brunt of that. So it's crazy. But she did that with a few things. But I guess again, it's sound bites, right?
Yeah, it's sound bites.
So when you say, oh, we're raising your wages, sounds good.
Yeah.
Then your employers, however,
probably won't hire you. You're not going to have a job, but if you do get one,
and might not give you the pay rise that you've been waiting for the last 4 years.
Right, exactly. And it always thinks about people at the very bottom, which I understand that's the Labour Party's MO.
Yeah.
But it's kind of keeping people in a box and not letting them actually grow,
thrive. And prosper. And also it's not encouraging businesses to thrive and prosper either.
Exactly.
Because they're not going to want to employ extra people. Whereas if they had a bit more leniency with NI and certain things, they might be more inclined to say, okay, we're going to take that chance. We're going to do it because, we're doing well. Let's grow. Now it's going to be like, wow, I don't want to be in debt.
They're just not. They're going to either hire less people or pay them less.
Oh, and she also said something about basically for small businesses, she has a bursary or something for them. She has like 10 grand or something. Which
yes
again
the allowance.
There's an allowance. So if you're a small business under a certain amount, you get like
employment allowance.
So employment allowance. So if you're a really small business, maybe you only hire like 2 or 3 people, then you get sort of the difference back. But it's the difference. It's like it makes no sense. It's like
it raises from 5k to 10.5k.
So in other words, again, it's like giving and taking. You're like, what are you doing?
It's a weird thing that they do, is that they just want everyone to be in this claiming culture.
Yeah.
It's like they cut the winter fuel allowance so that people then claim for their pensioners' benefits or whatever, when it's actually going to cost more if everyone does that.
Exactly.
They force businesses to kind of pay more national insurance, but say, oh, you can try and claim it back. Why do we have to, like, if you're a business owner, which, like we said last week, they don't understand. And Rishi also said that today. Thank you, Rishi.
He did. He was very strong today.
He was amazing. He said, look, they don't understand, but if you're a business owner, you don't have time to be going through all of this red tape.
And also, you shouldn't have to go through it.
Fill out forms to try and claim back this 4K.
You're trying to
it's just
grow your business.
Exactly. If you're not focusing on your business, you're not focusing on productivity.
Yeah.
It's actually just like so cumbersome and stunts you. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But it's not weird.
They don't think of it like that. That's the problem.
With the national insurance, the employers' national insurance, the thing that was shocking, because we kind of knew that they were going to raise it, increase it. So they said they're going to increase it to 15% from April 2025. But the biggest shock of all, which is when if you see my notes, it's like, wow, mind blown, because it's just like, what?
It's true.
Is that they're going to reduce the secondary threshold, so the amount from which employers start paying national insurance from 9K to 5K. So it literally just wallops them straight away, pretty much. And then they're also having to pay more anyway.
Yeah,
it's madness.
So it's a double jugular.
Yeah. And she said after she announced this crazy policy, well, she said successful businesses depend on successful schools. Healthy businesses depend on a healthy NHS, and a strong economy depends on strong public finances. So she's trying to say, well, if I don't tax you extra NI, then you're not going to have any of these public services.
Exactly.
But she doesn't realize that public finances are funded by taxpayers who will lose their jobs if businesses can't afford to hire them.
And then you end up with just more costs because people are more reliant on the state. Ridiculous.
Oh, sorry. God, I got that off my chest.
Yeah. Well,
she did do a funny thing with fuel duty where she tried to pretend she wasn't going to increase it.
Yeah.
She was like, that's why I'm not increasing it. And I'm like, this really isn't landing how you expect it to land.
I know. She was interesting, but it just didn't.
Yeah. She was trying to do like and it's really going to be hard and I really don't want to do it. That's why I'm not going to do it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, you just spoke for an extra 10 minutes on a budget that's like 2 hours long. Like I'm losing the will to live.
Yeah, just get to the point.
Leave the stuff out.
Exactly. Obviously, capital gains tax is going to rise, like we kind of knew it would. And inheritance tax, that's a big one.
That is a big one. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day actually. But like small family farms, like if you're earning like a milli, they kind of give you up to a milli, which is kind of good. But I don't know, a farm is it costs a lot to run.
It costs a lot to run.
It may be on paper potentially worth that, but you know, I don't know, they're giving you 50% relief.
Well, with the farming thing, so obviously as vice chair for the Conservative Rural Forum, shout out Conservative Rural Forum. So this one has been like blowing up our WhatsApp groups, mainly because it's taking into account like the value of land. It's taking into account the value of the buildings. It's taking into account the farmhouses as well. Anything used in a farming business, all of that wasn't taxable. And now by capping it at 1 million in value, the tax on that is going to be 20%. Say the average farm value is 2 million, so that's going to be a 200k tax bill when people try and hand their farms down to their younger generations. And a lot of farms at the moment are being kept alive by like the dad who's been doing it for 30, 40 years. And like now there's even less incentive for them to be able to hand it over to their kid.
It's a chore rather than
£200,000.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
It's awful. It's really going to cripple them. The CLA said that it's going to affect 70,000 UK farms, which is going to damage family businesses and destabilize food security. And I think they don't seem to understand where food comes from. It comes from farmers and all of their hard work.
Exactly. And also that would help with their like green agendas, because you know, local produce, local farms, as opposed to importing. I mean, I could go on.
And also they're going to be taxing fizzy drinks, tobacco, which I'm not that against. Private jet fuel tax is a scandalous 50% on the PJ. And she tried to like look at Rishi and like make like a jibe at him.
Like,
and he
California.
And he was actually like studying the notes.
I know. He was like, well,
he was about to end her.
Argue this point.
But
I mean, I get the theory. They're like, well, if you're rich and you're taking a private jet, then you can afford it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I wonder if the Prime Minister's private jet is going to be
ooh la
subject
la.
to that fuel.
Well,
tax.
he's got his sugar daddy donor to pay for it. Sugar daddy donor will, you know, pay for it for him.
Yeah, true, old Ali. Oh, sorry, Ali. More tax for you. So the good things, obviously, we talked about the pubs already.
Yeah.
They're abolishing non-doms, so
Yeah.
no more non-doms. It doesn't exist anymore. Everyone's going to flee.
I know. I mean, there's a part of me that is like, okay, I get the theory behind it. However, that's just not, I don't know. I feel like we should be embracing people that have the
Bring money
potential
into the
to make
country.
money,
Yeah.
right? Even if they are non-doms, their businesses still provide income and money
And
into
jobs.
our society.
Yeah.
So although, yeah, I get it. If you're making money from our country, then you should probably pay tax into the country that you are, whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
But there are other ways that they
pay tax by VAT.
Exactly.
They pay tax in so many other ways.
Exactly.
So
I think, let them feel like they've got a win.
It's like such a small amount, like the amount that she's going to save on that. Okay,
Yeah.
so she's going to save over the next 5 years 12 billion, which sounds like a lot, but it isn't over 5 years. If we think about that, that's 2 billion a year, and the amount they bring in is probably much more than 2 billion a year. They're also going to be increasing stamp duty, land tax for additional homes, second homes.
Yes, that's not ideal.
Which is another way of just kind of crushing
potential money makers.
Right. And you can't say we want growth, we want investment, and drive everyone who can do that out of the country. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But talking about housing, there's also a boost to the affordable homes budget.
Yes,
which is quite interesting.
That's good. But they're also going to cut right to buy. I think they're reducing the right to buy.
They are.
The discounts are going to be reduced. So when you're trying to buy your own council house and like elevate yourself and try and get on, they're saying no, don't do it.
Stay where you are.
Stay in your boat. Stay there. So that's that. One of the funniest things was there's like they had like a creative section.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to legislate so that there is tax relief for visual effects.
Yeah.
It's like,
of all the things, like, what are you talking about? Firstly, most of them are like privately funded, right? They're businesses and they do quite well.
And they come here and they love it. That's great.
And lots of films work with our special effects people and so forth. But they don't, that's not a priority. What is going on? You want to save money and I don't get it. That just makes no sense.
Screw school kids because they went to private school. Go on visual effects. Let's do that. It was just so weird. Random.
It's like someone went up to her and was like, so what about visual effects? Oh, well, let me tell you.
Let me get you a tax relief.
So weird.
That was very weird.
That was weird.
The good things I think that she's done is like transport. I think they've done it quite, apart from they've actually increased the bus fares everywhere.
My thing with the bus fares, right? Pensioners don't have to pay bus fares, right? They get like a freedom pass.
Yeah.
Do they get that all over the UK?
I don't know if they get it everywhere.
Because if they get it all over the UK, then I'm like, okay, fine.
But if you live in like a rural place,
you need
the bus fares used to be like 3, 4, 5 quid. Like it was crazy how expensive they were. And they're also really bad. Like they run like once an hour, if that.
Twice a day.
Like twice a day. Seriously, some places it's like once a day to the town.
Yeah, and back.
And so it's like it's a kind of a crap service. And why am I spending £4 just to get to use this bus that I can only use once? It's like it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
100%. So I think we're like a lot of people in like our rural group are saying like a lot of these policies are being made by people who live in cities.
Yes.
And they don't seem to like care to understand like where we're coming from.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. National health.
Yes. So basically they're going to put 22.6 billion into the budget, so that will help investment with like funding repairs and upgrades across the NHS estates and stuff as well, and hopefully they're aiming to stop this waiting list of up to 2 years they have right now to no longer than 18 weeks.
Yes,
I mean
that would be great.
I just think what they should do straight off the bat, middle management who have no hands-on experience, don't care. Their priority is just to make money.
And I think with the NHS, because they were really happy about this one, she saved the best to last, was that they're going to deliver 2% productivity growth next year from the 3 shifts that we've talked about. But they were also really pleased to say that this was the biggest largest real terms growth in day-to-day spending outside of COVID since 2010. Under the Conservatives, spending has gone up and up and up, and output has not improved. So I don't think that's really the right approach to be like, we're spending as much as COVID. That's not a good thing.
That's not a good thing. And if you can justify what you're spending on and how if you're spending it temporarily to create, so for example, if you are changing all your databases and all your electronical equipment stuff so it's updated and it works efficiently, fine, that's like an outlay, but then you need to stop at some point. So if you're just like throwing money at the same problem, it's going to be the same problem with a bigger debt. It's ridiculous.
So that's going to be interesting to watch. I feel like Wes Streeting knows that he's got like a big job in his hands, and he's been, to be fair, he's been the shadow health minister for like 5-6 years or whatever, so he should know his kind of portfolio better than anyone else. So there's not really an excuse for it not to be like top class. Like, you can't blame anyone else.
It should be.
It's on.
What I would do though, like in all honesty, if I was in government, if I was anyone in power, I would take the painful partisan bit out of like the NHS and of schooling and all the main things. I know that doesn't sound like cool or whatever, but then you actually do stuff for the greater good rather than political points and fighting and bickering. You actually get like the best of everything. So I'd do something like that.
I think the problem with that though is that like everyone's idea, both sides have a different idea of what is the right thing to do, that like fundamentally in their core.
That is true.
So that's the challenge.
That is the challenge. But
there are probably some things, like you say, that you could find like common ground on.
Well, the common ground would be saving money, being the best healthcare, having short waiting lists, and providing a service that isn't gonna like just take up all our money.
And the send, I thought they put, I think, 1 billion into send, which I thought was really good. So I think things like that people can kind of agree on.
As it's budget day, we decided to get a couple more opinions from Peter Barnes and Stewart Waine. Let's see what they had to say. Well, welcome to ModCons. Hi, Peter and Stewart.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us on this.
No, thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, we're going to be discussing all things the budget. So I hope you're ready.
Well, I had a feeling that's what we might be talking about.
First of all, what was what's the highlight for the budget for you guys today?
In terms of what, like just how bad it is, or like just how catastrophic it's going to be, how we're all going to be living like on the streets and the country is pretty much doomed. I mean, let's be real. The little red book became the Treasury's big red box. It was absolutely astounding. Rachel Reeves got up there and just wrecked the economy. We talk about Liz Truss. This is child's play compared to what she's just done. What do the Labour Party have against pensioners? Seriously, what do they have against pensioners? It is they have gone after them yet again. From winter fuel duty allowance to the bus fares to the changes to inheritance tax. That is deliberate. I'm sorry, that is done with a level of spite and cruelty. There was this big argument before the budget about what is a working person, and I was like, well, it's pretty obvious. It's a person that goes to work. It doesn't matter what that work is. It's rather self-evident. It's in the name. And they've tried to fiddle around with the borrowing rules, which is often a sign of a government in clear desperation of having no clue what to do in terms of raising taxes. Let's remember, Keir Starmer said that this was fully costed in the manifesto. If this is fully costed, what does that even mean anymore?
40 billion pounds.
That's what it means. That's what it is. What is the worst thing that you think has come out of the budget today?
I personally think the farmers who are getting shafted. A lot of farms are just worth more than £1 million just by virtue of their size. But their livelihoods, they're not the cash. It's capital that you need to, if you have to pay. I think they give some sort of relief, so it's 20%. That has huge, wide-ranging effects that I don't think that Labour have any idea about. I don't think, it's really damaging. And that is, it's not just a few farmers, that is hundreds and hundreds of farmers.
They are already under incredible strain. I mean, the farming sector has been basically screwed over more times than you can count. It's absolutely amazing just how badly multiple governments can treat such an important sector. Whilst it might not be the biggest percentage of our GDP, like the food security, after we saw from Ukraine, this is a real issue that I know a lot of people have been banging on about for a long time. I think I remember studying about food security at university, and I'm like ancient now. Yeah. But it's crazy that they've gone after this, because yet again, I think this is Labour's metropolitan bias against kind of more rural communities and more provincial towns.
Yeah,
they just don't like them. More importantly, they don't care about them. They want to have the kind of London-centric, city-centric way of living. And they don't get that, like as Stewart says, this is families, this is businesses, this is something that is passed down. This is special skills and trades that we are going to lose because of this policy. And I don't think the Labour Party have thought this through. Rachel Reeves, when she threw the dispatch box, she said it with such pride. I was like, I'd be ashamed.
Yeah.
Well, she was supposedly an economist, but now there seems to be some doubt over whether she actually was. I think Guido Fawkes did some snooping around, much to her annoyance. And I think she told some little white lies in there.
One of the actual economists who were there at the time knew who she was.
She was. So I don't think that bodes well. I don't think economists are a social group of people, but it's amazing, really. But one of the things I found most interesting was there was a snap poll by UKIP just before the budget, like literally in the morning, and the Tories came out the most trusted on the economy because of how bad they expected it to be. So the Labour Party lost I like that.
Wow. I don't know how that happened.
The Labour Party went down 7 points to 25, and the Conservatives went up 6 to 27. But to the fact that I think it was a couple of weeks ago, most people preferred Rishi Sunak's government, and now the Tories are now best placed to handle the economy. You kind of have to feel that the Labour Party are just doing this deliberately. They don't really care about winning re-election. They don't see that as a problem, and I find that really interesting, because I thought, whilst it's, like I said, politically this is really smart for them, it shores them up. It's going to come back and bite them, because people vote with their wallet. They always have to. This is the one thing that Miliband got wrong and Jeremy Corbyn got wrong. It's not social issues. It's not community. It's, in the words of Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And here we are.
Yeah. I think one of the things on that is that they've won a lot of rural seats this election.
Yes.
And they seem to have forgotten that a lot of their constituents are farmers or live in rural communities or need the bus. So it's quite...
that
is a really, really good point about how this will affect Labour's kind of attacks into, like, with the yellow wall, I suppose, as we call it. I don't know why we've just got walls everywhere, but into those rural communities where the Labour did do quite well, actually.
Yeah.
Is this a chance for the Tories to really go back to its more like traditional kind of Tory roots and talk about rural communities? Like, I know the Countryside Alliance would be very thrilled with that. And I do think there is something there.
So obviously the VAT on private schools was properly announced. So Independent Schools Council have said, one of them, I think, most overlooked, particularly by Labour, is the SEND kids, special educational needs.
Yeah.
And so if the pupil doesn't have a health and social care plan, EHCP, which is actually most of them, a lot of them do not have those, then they will not receive the exemption on VAT, and there's more SEND kids without that than have it. So that's just sort of been left, it seems. They have
it's quite interesting with this VAT one, because I think this one's going to drag on for them if they're not careful, and it's going to be a pretty nasty U-turn when they start to kind of have to backtrack on some of this stuff, because just economically it's just not going to work. I'm looking at the 22.6 billion increase in day-to-day funding for the NHS. I mean, talk about your 22 billion pound black hole. It's right there.
On a lighter note, what do you think about the beer tax?
On penny, I mean,
buy 799 and get one free. That's essentially what it is.
It didn't make it more expensive There was a thing on The Guardian where if you put all your information in, how much you earn, how much you spend on cigarettes and alcohol and stuff, and it comes up with how much you'd saved on this budget. And so I got I saved £16.33 a year thanks to this.
Nice.
Because I have a child and child benefit went up a bit. I actually lose money. I lose £10 a year on smoking, and I get back £3.78 a year from the amount of beer I drink.
Nice.
What's really interesting about
Reeves.
Yeah, it's interesting about Stewart's case here. On the beer prices, there's guy I follow on Twitter, and he's a pub landlord, and he said, if assuming beer prices go up 2% with the inflationary increase and the duty cut, he still needs to put the price up by 30p on the price of a pint. You know, it's whilst they've cut the duty, everything else has gone up. So they can take a victory and say, we've kept the price of a pint a penny less. No, you've not. It's a lie. And like most of this budget, it is a lie. You know, all of this was planned out. I think a lot of it was because it's too ideologically driven. Everything Keir Starmer has done is ideologically driven, not policy driven, and it's certainly not economically driven, as we can see.
And so, what did you guys think about Rishi's response? How do you think he did?
Oh, do you want to go?
Well, no, I thought, here he is. I mean, you know, I heard from other people say, where was this for the last 2 years? You know, so I thought he did really well, and I guess the sort of pressure is off him somewhat. So you do tend to perform a little bit better when you know you've got not necessarily anything to lose. But I think good on him. And you know, yes, it is a shame that we didn't have the new leader in place to be prepared and have that first foray into opposition. But actually, I think Rishi was probably the best person for it at the end, because he has been a chancellor and he understands it.
I think his economic expertise came out of the dispatch box. He wiped the floor with Rachel Reeves and all the rest. It was kind of awkward at one point. I was like, oh, make it stop. But
well, we'll soon find out.
I've already voted for Kemi.
You voted for Kemi.
I think, and we were talking about it before we came on, but she does make some unforced errors, but it's all things that I think you can sort of train for, and she can get better at these things. Think about Margaret Thatcher, and in 1975 she was by 1979 she was a completely different person, really. In terms of her voice, the way her mannerisms. You do train yourself for those sorts of things and get better at it.
And the one thing I will give Kemi is she's not tried to do a pale imitation of Margaret Thatcher. Not really. She's been her own woman, and I've rather admired that. The thing I didn't like about Liz Truss, which is a very long list of things, and even Penny Mordaunt as well to a degree, they just did a pale imitation of it. It was like some cheap drag act. Like honestly, like they weren't authentic, and everybody saw that. And I don't think it works. But Kemi is Kemi, and I do think that whole maybe do it like in the West Wing, like let Bartlett be Bartlett, let Kemi be Kemi. I think might become a thing if she wins. Later on in this week.
I was going to ask this earlier. What's the positive takeaway, guys? What's the thing that you're like, yes? Is there anything?
An election in 5 years.
Yeah. Keir Starmer's not going to be Prime Minister for very much longer. Because what's going to be really difficult for Starmer is party management. And I've always said this is his big problem. He has 168 majority now because he's got some suspended. And he's got that. It might be one less because he's got that one that threw that punch. But I think the positive here really is that the Tory brand has shown it's stayed strong. With this idea that the Tories are finished and that the branding's gone and nobody trusts them and all the rest of it, what we've seen in terms of just the reaction to this proves that's not true. And if you look at the local elections that have been happening in the background, the Tories have been winning left, right, and centre. They've been taking seats. If they're not taking them, they put in a really good showing. So, it's there is a silver lining politically, economically. Start buying tin goods.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Peter and Stewart. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Bye guys. That was interesting.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, they basically had the same kind of views as us. Yeah. Even though I'm trying to, find the positives, there are a lot of negatives.
Yeah. So obviously Rachel Reeves, she did her thing.
Yes,
and then in came the man of the hour, Lotto himself, leader of the opposition, to drop the mic.
He did indeed. That it was a really powerful kind of pushback.
Yes.
And he was like, taxes up, borrowing up, spending up. Will it work? I don't know.
I
mean,
loved it.
It was so good. And like the audience participation or the MP
they were like,
participation. And he did it a few times, and it really just kind of drilled it home that there were like things that were not working out. And he really kind of gave what for to do with sort of reneging on some of the promises that they made as well.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they were criticizing the previous government, the Conservatives, about, you know, the black hole and a few other things, saying that they were sort of being dishonest about things. I think it's easy to say, oh yeah, blame this one, blame that one, but you do have to take responsibility. And if you are making these decisions, don't make them because this one did that, I'm going to do that. No, make it because you think it's the right thing to do, and then stick to it. At least have the decency to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally what he said. He said like she should stop blaming everyone for her choices, which we've said so many times on here. Like these are your decisions. Don't blame somebody else for the choices you make. He also mentioned the OBR, and he said the OBR have declined to back up her £22 billion claim, which I loved. And I think Jeremy Hunt was getting quite nervous leading up to the budget. He was like going on all the shows being like, it's not true, it's not true. They didn't give me right of reply.
Because it's you know, if it's not true, then it's almost like defamation. It's like slander.
That's his record.
But also the OBR did say that some of the figures were not shown. So to be sort of fair, they did say some of the figures were not shown, and it would be in the region of 9 milli, rather than 9 billion, in the region of that, which is showing a deficit, and showing maybe that someone was not so forthcoming with the books, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was them. It could have been people in the office.
Also, like there were gaps, but as Andrew Griffith said today, that, you know, we could have actually plugged that hole throughout the year, which is true. Like we hadn't got to the end of the year. So yes, potentially you could say 9.5 billion, but we could have easily plugged that gap. So where did 22 billion come from?
Exactly. Just to make it a bit more scaremongery,
make it sound a bit spicy. He also said that they're basically borrowing £1 in every £4 that they spend.
Horrible.
Which is mind-blowing.
That's a lot.
And to think that they've had to actually change the fiscal rules just so they can borrow to spend. That's like whatever you're spending it on, that's up for debate. But the fact that you've actually said, I'm not going to fiddle the figures to get better results. And that's exactly what she's done.
Imagine saying that and actually doing the exact opposite.
And actually she did it in her speech that day on the day. She said, I will keep every tax promise made in the manifesto, literally whilst breaking her promises.
Whilst lying.
It's been bleak, guys, but I loved Rishi's speech. I thought it was great. I was like, go on, Rishi, do it.
It was really strong. It was really, really.
It was a corker.
It was. I mean, he was perfect for the job. Like if that was one way to go out, that's
true. He leaves with his head held high. And as he said, Labour the inheritance Labour actually got was inflation back down to its 2% target, and the UK being the highest growing economy in the G7. But so we're going to be talking to you guys. We're going to try and do a little check-in, even though you already know we want to react to the new leader, whoever they're going to be. Have you voted?
I have voted.
I have voted too.
Hi. Guess what? We got the result. Oh my God, there's a big bumblebee. So guess what? Results are in. Kemi Badenoch has won 53,000 votes, give or take. Wow. And Robert Jenrick got 41,000 or so.
It was very close. Very close.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. But I mean, how exciting. So basically, majority of the party decided they wanted to, you know, start from the foundations and rebuild that and get, you know, a good solid base and then build up from there.
I think we call
it. Exactly. That is what it's called. Renewal.
So are we ready to reveal who we voted for?
Go on then. Honestly, in all honesty, I was umming and ahhing, and even after I, you know, did the cross, I was still like, I don't know. I was
I was like that too. I was like, I kind of felt I knew at the beginning, and then throughout the contest, I kind of got swayed. And like you say, even after the fact, I started to think, did I do the right thing? I don't know. But I did. I voted for Kemi. I voted for Kemi.
So did I. I think, you know, I think really what it was for me was the fact that I think she can really sock it to the opposition. And I think that's a good thing. And I think, you know, in a way it's true. Yes, we should have policies, but throughout her campaign, she was saying that, you know, she's going to see and listen to what people want and what, you know, what we need. And I think, you know, as we are in opposition, as she is in opposition, then it's perfect timing for her to kind of regroup and figure out that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I think we've got enough time to come up with some really good policies. And I don't know, whenever I see her, I smile, and I feel like that's what I should be going for. Like cleverly said,
yes,
go for what you are for, not what you are against. So
yes,
I'm trying to go for what I'm for and not what I'm against.
Well, that's good. Well, exciting.
Yes, we'll try and get her on the podcast again. Now she's the leader of this position.
Yeah, we absolutely definitely should do that. And I can't wait for her first like P&Qs.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah.
I hope she really, you know, like does a really good job. What I want from her actually is to really grow into her role. Yeah. My ideal would be that she develops and progresses and becomes like a really strong leader. So all the people that maybe voted generic will be like warm to her and be like, no, okay, she's learning, she's actually doing what she's saying. Please, God, do what you're saying. And then that's it, really.
That's it. And I think with the way that she responded to him at the announcement, they were both really warm with each other. So I think that's really positive. And I think we'll be okay as a party, and she'll give him a good
a good shadow role.
Maybe Home Secretary. That would be good. Shadow Home Sec.
That would be good. That would be cool. I mean, I can't wait to see actually. Yeah, I can't wait to see how they sort of, you know, what chess pieces go where.
yeah, exactly. We'll try and do another episode for like when she announces Shadow Cabinet. That'll be really interesting.
See you soon. Bye.
It's all coming together.
Yes,
I mean,
things are falling into place now.
My goodness.
Yes.
My goodness. We got everything going on.
Got a budget, almost got a leader. What else do we need?
I don't know. A whole change in direction.
We just got change.
Yeah, but not the change we needed.
No, it wasn't the change we needed.
We need a lot of change. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. But we will keep you posted.
It's gonna be fine.
It's all gonna be fine.
Don't worry about it. It's all like Rachel Reeves. Oh, it's gonna be fine. It's all good. Well, you got one penny beer.
I'm not sure. I think that was an insult.
Sorry. Who could you be?
I don't want to be anyone. I'm happy to be me. Let's leave on that note before I drink all my tea.
Punch me. Like Mike Amesbury. Who's the Buddha? We should talk about that because we didn't. I'm glad we put that out there today.
Thank you so much for tuning in to ModCons. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And also Monday midday is our next one. So looking forward to see you there.
Bye guys.